Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the world of novels. You're already interested in novels, and you sent over some great excerpts from Dr. Jasvant Rathod to get us started.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Rathod's lectures are always fascinating.
Yeah, I'm excited to break down these insights with you and see what we discover.
Well, novels really are fascinating. We often just dive into a good story, but there's so much history and variety to the form itself. I think Dr. Rathod's lecture really highlights that, reminding us that it's more than just a long story.
Right.
It's an extended work of fiction and prose, distinguished from short stories and novellas by its magnitude, character variety, plot complexity, and exploration of milieu and motives.
So it's like size does matter here.
Yeah.
But also that depth of character and plot, the motives, the whole world the author builds. That's what makes it a novel, not just a quick read.
Exactly. And
Right.
that makes me think about those books we all know that are undeniably novels.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Rathod mentioned some intriguing ones like Lolita, Finnegan's Wake, and The Trial. Such different styles and subjects, but all novels, which shows just how broad the category is.
That's so true. It makes me think about how we connect with novels on a personal level.
Yeah.
There's a novel out there for everyone, right? But before we get lost in the stacks, let's go back to the beginning. Dr. Rathod talks about those early Greek romances as being a foundation. Did they have all those elements that he mentioned?
Not exactly. Think of them more as prototypes. They had those intricate plots and definitely focused on characters working through trials to find each other again.
Right.
But they were missing some key elements we see in modern novels.
Okay.
It was the picaresque narratives, like The Unfortunate Traveler from the 16th century, that added layers of realism and social commentary.
Okay.
Think of them as the ancestors of novels that critique society or, make us think about bigger issues.
Interesting. So those early novels were like building blocks, each adding something new to the mix.
Yeah.
Dr. Rathod also talked about the difference between novels of incident versus novels of character. Would you say that's part of that evolution too?
Absolutely. Robinson Crusoe, a classic novel of incident, focuses on plot. You know what will happen next. Will he survive? It's a page-turner.
Yeah.
But then you have Pamela, which dives deep into the main character's thoughts and motivations.
Okay.
That shift to character exploration was a huge step in how novels could impact us.
It's like the difference between watching an action movie versus a deep character drama, both entertaining but in totally different ways. This makes me think about those epistolary novels told through letters.
Right.
Is that focus on a character's inner world what made that format so popular?
You've hit on a key point there. Novels like Pamela and Clarissa were huge hits in the 18th century, partly because those letters gave readers direct access to characters' innermost thoughts and feelings. Even a more modern example like The Color Purple uses this intimacy to draw readers into the story.
That's so cool. It's like reading someone's diary, getting a glimpse into their private world. Dr. Rathod also mentioned Nathaniel Hawthorne, who talked about the difference between realistic novels and prose romances. Did that distinction emerge around the same time?
It did. Hawthorne's point was that there's room within the novel for very different approaches.
Okay.
Realistic novels like Emma focus on relatable characters and social dynamics, giving us a snapshot of everyday life. Prose romances, like Wuthering Heights, lean into heightened emotions, dramatic landscapes, and maybe even some supernatural elements.
So even within the world of novels, there are choices to be made. Do you want to see yourself reflected in the story or be swept away to a fantastical world? But Dr. Rathod didn't stop there. He went on to list all these subgenres. It seems like every possible story has a category.
Right. And those subgenres aren't just labels. They help us understand what a novel is trying to do, what kind of journey it's taking us on. For example, there's the Bildungsroman, like Jane Eyre, which traces a character's growth from childhood to adulthood. It's like a roadmap of how experiences shape who we become. Then there's the Künstlerroman, a special kind of Bildungsroman focused on an artist's development, like a portrait of the artist as a young man.
So it's not just coming of age, but coming of age as an artist.
Right.
That's so specific, and I bet it offers some unique insights into creativity.
Exactly. And then there are the social novels, like The Grapes of Wrath, which use storytelling to highlight societal and economic issues.
Okay.
They can be incredibly powerful because they make us confront difficult realities, even if it's through fictional characters. And within that category, you have proletarian fiction, which Dr. Rathod described as even more radical, pushing for social change. Love on the Dole is a great example from the Depression era.
Wow, so novels can be entertaining, insightful, and even politically charged.
Hmm.
It feels like we're just scratching the surface here. I'm already thinking about all the different kinds of novels I want to explore.
And we haven't even gotten to historical novels, documentary fiction, or those intriguing nonfiction novels Dr. Rathod mentioned. There's so much more to discover.
Okay, so we've got these social novels shining the light on big issues, and then there's this whole other category of historical novels. I'm a sucker for those. Getting swept away to another time and place. Is that what drew you to them, or is there something more to it?
For me, it's that blend of history and imagination that's so captivating. A well-written historical novel doesn't just recount facts. It brings the past to life. It lets you experience it through the eyes of characters who lived it.
Right. It's like you can read a textbook about the French Revolution,
Right.
but it's something else entirely, to feel the fear and excitement of those times through a character's story. Dr. Rathod mentioned War and Peace.
Yeah.
Is that a good example of that immersive experience?
Absolutely. Tolstoy masterfully captures the grandeur and intimacy of that era, weaving historical figures and events into the lives of his fictional characters. It's a sweeping epic, but it also reveals these timeless human truths
Yeah.
about love, loss, and ambition that resonate no matter the time period.
That's what I find so fascinating. Even in a story set centuries ago, we can still connect with those core human experiences.
Right.
But then Dr. Rathod went on to talk about documentary fiction and nonfiction novels,
Yeah.
which feel almost like the opposite of historical fiction.
Yeah.
Where's the line between reality and fiction in those?
That's where things get really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Books like Ragtime blend actual historical events and figures into a fictional narrative. It's a way to explore history with a more personal, intimate lens. And then you have nonfiction novels like In Cold Blood, which read like clipping novels but are based on real-life events.
That's wild. So it's like these authors are saying, hey, truth can be stranger than fiction. And we can tell true stories in ways that are just as compelling as made-up ones.
Exactly.
I guess that makes sense, since reality is full of twists and turns we'd never imagine.
Exactly. And sometimes authors take historical events and add a dash of the fantastical.
Okay.
Dr. Rathod called those fabulative historical novels. He mentioned the Salt-Wheat Factor as an example. It's like they're playing with history, exploring what-if scenarios, and maybe even challenging our assumptions about what we consider historical truth.
That's a cool concept, using imagination to make us rethink what we know or think we know about the past.
Yeah.
But then there are those novels that are deeply rooted in a specific place. Dr. Rathod called them regional novels and talked about Faulkner's Yoknapatawpha County. What makes those stand out?
In regional novels, the setting isn't just a backdrop. It's practically a character itself. Think about how Faulkner uses the landscape, dialect, and social customs of the American South to shape his stories. It's like the place becomes a living, breathing entity that influences the characters' lives.
So it's not just about the plot or characters.
Right.
It's about capturing the essence of a particular place
Right.
and how that shapes the people who live there. It makes me think about how regional novels can transport us to worlds we might never otherwise experience, just like historical novels transport us through time.
You've got it. And with all these subgenres and variations, it's incredible how the novel can encompass such a vast range of human experiences and perspectives. But as Dr. Rathod pointed out, even with all this history, the novel continues to evolve.
Okay.
The anti-novel, for example, deliberately breaks from tradition. He mentioned Elaine Rob Grilla's Jealousy as an example of this almost rebellious form.
So even as we explore the history and all these fascinating categories, there are authors out there pushing boundaries and creating something entirely new. That's pretty exciting. What do you think drives that experimentation?
Oh,
Is it about shocking readers?
well,
Or is there something deeper going on?
I think it's about pushing the boundaries of what a story can be, how it's told, and what it can explore. The anti-novel, by rejecting traditional elements like plot and characterization, forces readers to engage with the text in a completely different way. It challenges our expectations of what a novel should be.
That's fascinating. It's like those authors are saying, don't just passively consume this story.
Right.
Actively participate in creating meaning. It's making me rethink my own assumptions about what makes a good novel.
Right.
I'm already starting to wonder what other innovations are out there waiting to be discovered. It really is amazing to think about how this one form, the novel, can contain so much. From exploring social issues to defying reader expectations, it's constantly changing.
Yeah, it's like this ongoing conversation across time,
Yeah.
Each generation of writers adds their own voice, their own perspective on the world, and builds upon what came before.
And as readers, we get to be part of that conversation. We're not just absorbing information, we're engaging with ideas, emotions, different ways of seeing the world.
Exactly, and I think that's what draws so many people to novels. It's not just about escaping into a story, it's about connecting with something deeper. We see ourselves reflected in characters. We gain empathy for experiences different from our own appearance. We grapple with big questions about life and humanity.
It's like each novel is a journey, and we come out the other side changed in some way. And with so many types of novels out there, those journeys can take us anywhere.
You've hit the nail on the head. Whether it's a historical epic that transports us through time or a contemporary story that reflects our own struggles, there's always a new adventure waiting to be discovered in the pages of a novel.
And I think that's what makes Dr. Rathod's lecture so insightful. He's not just giving us a history lesson, he's opening up this whole universe of possibilities within the world of novels. Thinking back to your initial interest in novels, has this deep dive shifted how you think about the ones you want to read next?
It really has. I'm now much more aware of the choices authors make, the different tools they use to craft their stories. For example, knowing about the difference between novels of incident and character makes me want to pay more attention to how an author balances plot and inner reflection.
That's such a great point. It's like having a secret decoder ring for novels now. And for everyone listening, as you reach for your next book, think about what kind of journey you're looking for. Do you crave the sweeping scope of a historical saga? The intimacy of an epistolary novel? The mind-bending challenge of an anti-novel?
Let your curiosity be your guide. And remember, as we've seen from Dr. Rathod's lecture, there's no one right way to experience a novel. Whether you're looking for escapism, emotional resonance, or intellectual stimulation, there's a novel out there waiting to spark your imagination.
So true. The world of the novel is vast and ever-expanding with something for everyone. So go forth, dear listeners, and happy reading. We'll catch you on our next deep dive.